So by now, most Transformers fans have their HasLab Lao Kaiser in hand. If you don't, I'm sure you're going to be getting it very, very soon. And I want to keep this HasLab momentum going because HasLab is a fun time of year. Well, it should be a fun time of year unless it's the Omega Prime situation. Then maybe it's a stressful time of year. But the Lao Kaiser HasLab was amazing. And if you want to see my thoughts, my unboxings of it, I'll put the link up here. Just click on that, check it out. Long story short, I loved Lao Kaiser. I think it's a great figure, and even a week later, I'm still extremely happy with it. But to keep this HasLab momentum going, let's talk about the next HasLab, because we know that we're going to be getting another one. And the Hasbro designers did say that they will be revealing their HasLab once people get their Lao Kaisers in hand. Because they know the Omega Prime situation wasn't the greatest, and they know people are only going to back the next HasLab if it has really good QC, which it seems like Lao Kaiser did have really good QC. So I think we could be getting the next HasLab very, very soon, maybe even in June, hopefully early July. With that being said, I think the next HasLab is going to be an Autobot because we have Unicron, who's evil, so we'll say Decepticon, and then we have Victory Saber, Autobot, then we have Deathsaurus, Decepticon, evil, and then we have Omega Prime, Autobot, and most recently Lao Kaiser, Decepticon. So following that pattern, the next HasLab should be an Autobot. So this unfortunately does knock some things out of the park, like Beast Wars 2 Galvatron, which we now know we are getting thanks to new legends. I also talked about that in a video, but I am so excited to learn more about that, and I'm honestly glad it's not going to be a HasLab. You're not going to have that HasLab exclusivity. This also knocks out things like Violin Jaguar. Totally said that wrong. I just think that that would be a cool character, but obviously we're not getting that. We're not going to get a Super Megatron, which I really want a Super Megatron to go with my new Star Convoy, or to go with the newer Star Convoy. I think that's quite a ways away, unfortunately. So with these out of the way, I think we have some options. I think we have one very likely option. I'll get into this soon. I'll get into this at the end of the video. You probably know what it is, but we're going to start off with my personal delusional Transformers fan picks. Broadside is one of my favorite Autobots, and if you're hearing this, you might be sighing. You're like, there's no way they're going to do a HasLab Broadside. But if you think about it, it kind of makes a lot of sense, because in the cartoon, Broadside scale is kind of all over the place. My personal favorite is the scale when he's in the background shot on Cybertron and he towers over even the Dinobots, which would make him probably bigger than even Skyfire, Jetfire. So he would be a big boy. So I think a Titan class would be necessary, or even a HasLab. But then Broadside is also famous for having two different animation models. He has one that's more toy based, and then he has one that's more like Marvel UK comics based, with some pretty different color schemes as well. So he has a different head, he has different legs, he has different kibble, he even has different colors. So I do prefer the American cartoon, more toy-based Broadside. I really like that head design, and I love his chest, his overall design. I just prefer this design that you're seeing on screen. And then his other design, I don't like quite as much. It was the design that was seen in Carnage and C Minor, and his Marvel Comics is very similar to that. I think the colors are a little bit different, but I don't like that design as much. But I think a HasLab is where you make a bonus tier, or even you could just include it with him, is that you can swap out heads. You can swap out like a chest piece and maybe some leg kibble, some back kibble, just so you can alternate between those two modes. Because I think if they did a Broadside at even a Titan scale, you wouldn't get that. I think you'd only get that at a HasLab scale. And at a HasLab scale, you could make him large enough to have the Age of the Prime's aerial bots on him. Because the Age of the Prime's aerial bots are still new enough where I think it would make sense. You could kind of market it with it. Be like, oh, if you have the aerial bots, you can land them on him. Or it could just come with fake little model aerial bots, kind of like the Titans Return Broadside did. So I think there's so much potential for a HasLab Broadside. It's a niche pick. I think a lot of people would pass on it. But it's one of my like dreams. It would make me so happy because I don't hate the Titans Return Broadside. I just want my Broadside to be huge, at least as tall as other combiners. And another really amazing idea is if The HASLAB Broadside, one of the bonus tiers was a display stand that was Devastator, like in the episode where he lands on top of Devastator. If you had a Devastator display stand for the Broadside, that would be like the best thing Hasbro could ever make. I think it would just be perfect. And I don't know how you'd get around having a better jet mode because historically Broadside's jet mode has always suffered. And I think even in a HasLab you'd get that. That's just something you'd have to accept and move on. Another pick that I have that we are never ever gonna get is the Battlestars. I think it would be so cool to get a HasLab 2-pack with Sky Gary and Grandis. Again, they're very niche Japanese well, so they are niche Japanese G1 characters, not a huge market for them. But we just got Star Convoy, and he's established that the needed scale for the other two Battlestars is huge. They might be able to get away with a Commander Sky Gary, but I think you need to do a Titan class Grandis, and that's a big ask. Like Star Convoy got a lot of hate for not being very articulated, which I do agree with. Like, you should at least be able to move his head up and down. And a lot of people just felt that he didn't really do anything. I give the base mode a pass. I think his base mode is okay. It's true to the original. And then for alt mode, again, it's true to the original. I'm happy with it. I know a lot of people thought it was lackluster. So I think that the reception from Star Convoy or Star Optimus Prime would make it harder to do a Grandis and a Sky Gary at retail. But again, I would really love that. And I think they should have the ability to connect to Star Convoy. So I think Grandis should be able to be a trailer for Star Convoy. And Sky Gary should be able to go on top. I think some easy bonus tiers are those little trailers that came with Star Convoy. Throw in a couple of those. Throw in their little MicroMaster partners that they had. And I don't know what else you could throw in. You could probably throw in some other niche like Japanese G1 MicroMasters. But I just think that would be a really cool HasLab 2-pack. It would be expensive, but then you get both of the Battlestars, and then you can complete that trio. Because like I said, I think it's going to be a tough ask at retail to get a Sky Gary and a Grandis, but who knows? We got a Commander Class Magmatron, so anything can happen. So those are probably my two most daydreaming takes on HasLab. So we're going to get into some more realistic ones. Starting with Railracer, I think there is actually a lot of potential for Railracer. So historically, we've been told by, I'm not sure if it was Hasbro or Takara designers, but apparently trains don't sell very well in North America. Makes sense. North America isn't known for their trains. That's more of like in Asia, Europe, but in North America, not so much, which is really unfortunate because I would love a modern Raiden, who is also on this list. But like a modern chug scale to Raiden or a Railracer would be amazing. I just don't know if we're ever going to get those at retail. And I think a Railracer set would make a lot more sense than selling the 3 trains individually. Because if you're looking at the RIDO1 toy, trains are a little lackluster. But then if you sell them as a package that they combine into Railracer, I think that makes it a lot easier to swallow. We just got Omega Prime, and I would say a Ruination probably isn't too far behind because we're getting Bruticus this year in Age of the Primes, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to get a Ruination. I'd like probably a Generation Selects Ruination in the next couple of years. I don't think Hasbro would pass up that opportunity. So again, I think this could go with the growing number of RIDO1 figures, even though there's really not that many. And then, like I said, Raiden, I would love a Raiden. I was really interested in the MPG Raiden that Takara did, but all in, you're looking at over $1,000 for what is admittedly a very lackluster combiner. A lot of people in hand say he's good, but he's not great, because Takara really focused on getting the model train aspect to train collectors in Japan, which is an interesting take. Like, I understand why. I'm sure model trains are more popular over there. But again, model train collectors would probably want something that's like powered and they can have on their little rail displays. But I get why they did it. I don't know if it was the right choice because the combined mode seemed pretty lackluster. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't look that great for all the money that you have to spend. The whole set, if you were to buy them brand new, you'd be looking at over $1,000. And I think the combiner is roughly chug scaled. He's around the same size as like Studio Series 86 Devastator and roughly like HASLAB Laokaiser. It's just so expensive for what you get, and I can't justify spending that much money on one combiner. So if we had a cheaper HASLAB version that was probably roughly the same size in combined mode, but just take out the die cast, make him really steady, maybe make the combined mode a priority, like they did with Laokaiser. Like the individual members may suffer a little bit, but as long as that combined mode is really, really good, I think that would be a solid offering for a HASLAB. For Raiden, I'm not too sure what accessories you could have. Maybe they could throw in like the Diaclone head, like Takara ended up doing with MPG. But then again, if you do Raiden as a HASLAB, you lose out on those Diaclone train redecos, which is that yellowish redeco for some of the members. But ultimately, that is pretty lackluster, and I don't think people would lose their minds too much if we didn't get that. Another option is Power Master Optimus Prime. This, I think, would be an amazing HASLAB. Judging by how well they pulled off Victory Saber, I think a Power Master Optimus Prime slash Supergod Ginrai would be an amazing package. If you can get the core Optimus Prime figure or Ginrai figure, and then he comes with the trailer, you can combine with the trailer to become Power Master Optimus Prime or Super Ginrai. And then you also include God Bomber or the Apex Armor, however they want to market it, in there as well. So then you have your Ginrai, you have your God Bomber, you can combine them, and then you get Super God Ginrai all in one package, just like they did with Victory Saber. You get everything all in one, and then you could also include the Marvel Comics, Power Master Optimus Prime head, like kind of similar to how Takara released their MPG Ginrai. They did a cartoon accurate deco, and then they did more of like a toy accurate deco, so you could get the red eyes or the blue eyes. And all in all, I think that would be a really solid package, because looking at my Transformers Legends Super God Ginrai, it's pretty wonky. Like the combined mode isn't the most sturdy thing ever. The Legends God Bomber, well, I'm glad that we got it. It's pretty jank. Like his arms really suck. The forearms are really bad, and he sometimes he doesn't want to stay together that well. Even the Transformers Legends Ginrai doesn't like to stand up as well as the Hasbro counterpart. So I think this would be a really great offering for a HASLAB, but I don't think this is going to happen because the MPG Ginrai just happened. Like it's only a couple years old. I don't think Takara is going to want to offer that when they just did a Ginrai, and ultimately I think it would be too similar. So I just don't see that happening. And then I know I've already established that I think the next HASLAB is going to be an Autobot. An Overlord, a HASLAB Overlord would be amazing. Just like Deathsaurus, to make him a big monstrous robot with a base mode, like a proper nice base mode, and he has both of his Power Masters included. I think that would be an amazing offering. But again, I think MPG is going to do an Overlord first. I don't have anything to back this up with. This is just pure speculation, but I can't see MPG doing doing a Ginrai and then never doing an Overlord. And I can't see HASLAB doing an Overlord first and not doing a Ginrai. So I don't think we're going to get either or. I would love to. I would really love a HASLAB Ginrai this year and then next year like an Overlord, but that's probably never going to happen. Another interesting take would be the Diatlas and the Powered Masters. So again, this would be a really good set. You could have a really solid Diatlas, and then you could have the other two members, I think Sonic Bomber and Roadfire, I believe their names are. And you could just do those figures really nicely. And then also include the Zodiac. And you could even do their little, they have these almost MicroMaster partners that the original Japanese toys came with. So again, I just think that would be a really solid set. I have the Transformers Legends set from a couple years ago, and it's not bad. It's just a little lackluster. Like the Diatlas, his legs are so hollow, it looks a little wonky, and sometimes his like ab crunch area his torso can be a little bit loose, and it's not the best figure that they could do. Same with Road Caesar and Sonic, or not Road Caesar. Same with Road Fire and Sonic Bomber. They're just redecos of, one's a redeco of the Top Spin Twin Twist mold, and the other one I believe is a redeco of like the Trigger Happy Misfire Slug Slinger mold. So they're not perfect. They could really use brand new HasLab molds. I think that would be a great set. I just don't see it happening this year. So since we've gotten so many Transformers Victory characters, let's keep growing with Landcross. Landcross is a really cool idea for a combiner because you have 6 members, they all have their individual robot modes, and then they all 6 combine to form Landcross, one big combiner. But you can also combine 2 members together and get 3 medium-sized combiners, 3 2-member combiners. And I really like that idea, and I think this would be really awesome to get in a modern line. Just if you do this at retail, I think you wouldn't get those 2-member combinations. I think you would just get 6 figures that combine into one combiner, and it might be a little bit lackluster. So to get the full experience, I think you would need the HasLab budget. Even then, I don't know how that they would do it because you would have to make compromises somewhere. Really, I really don't know how they'd pull that off. And I'm not too sure with extra tiers what they could include. I just think it would be really cool to see. Like, I love combiners, but Landcross adds that added level of complexity. So I don't know. I don't see this one happening. And they've already done so much Transformers Victory. I don't know if they're going to do any more Victory. But I will keep talking about Victory because Road Caesar, this is a combiner that's gotten brought up a lot since they've done Lao Kaiser. Because in Transformers Victory, I would say you had the rivalry of Star Saber and Deathsaurus. That one's obvious. And then I would say you had Lao Kaiser and Road Caesar being maybe more at each other's throats. And then you also had Dino King and Landcross. So Road Caesar is a tricky one because he's only 3 members. So how do you make a 3-member combiner proportionally? Because the original toy, it's got huge thick legs and then such teeny tiny arms, because his original toy is like leg, torso, and then the arms are just added on. So how you do that on a modern figure, I don't know. It would 100% need to be parts formed. And I feel like a lot of Transformers collectors would get upset by that because people don't like parts forming. But with Road Caesar, how do you avoid it? Like, how do you make a proportional 3-member combiner like that and not avoid it? Like, I'm thinking you would have to go full frame combiner. It would have to be, you just plug the 2 leg members on to the leg parts, and then you basically just have a massive frame part that is pretty much the entire torso, the head, the arms, all one huge frame that you can just plug the torso member on. Sorry, I'm blanking on the names. So again, I don't know how they do this at retail, unless they did like a commander class with the frame. And even then, I don't know how you'd incorporate the frame to their alt modes because they all transform into sports cars. It's not like they transform into tanks or like trucks or anything like that you could put a trailer onto. It would just be a really hard sell. But at a HasLab, you could get all the Brain Masters, just like we did with HasLab Victory Saber. You get Star Saber's Brain Master. And if they're doing a proper Road Caesar, I think fans would want that Brain Master gimmick. So again, it would be such a cool idea. Don't think they're going to do it. They've done so much Transformers Victory, but I would love to see how the modern designers tackle those characters. Another one that people have been begging for a very, very long time is Animated Omega Supreme. I'm kind of shocked that we don't have this by now, because Animated is a beloved continuity. Like, fans to this day love Transformers Animated, and I do too. It's a great show. If you think the 2D art looks too childish, you just got to get over it. It's actually a really fun show, and Omega Supreme's design is really, really cool. I honestly thought that we would get a cop-out where they would take the Titan class arc from Kingdom and just kind of retool it into Animated Omega Supreme. I think that would be a cop-out. I think to do an Animated Omega Supreme, it would have to be its own mold no retooling any previous Titan class characters. And I think HasLab would make sense. The only issue is recently a lot of the Transformers animated characters, they've been generationified to look a little bit more G1 than just straight up Transformers animated. So if they were to do a Titan class Omega Supreme or HasLab Omega Supreme, would they make it one-to-one Transformers animated, or would they G1ify it a little bit, similar to how they did with Prowl? We'll say Wreck-Gar, even though I wouldn't even say Wreck-Gar was G1ified. Animated Wreck-Gar was just massacred in Age of the Primes. The only issue with HasLab is I feel like we would lose out on a Lugnut Supreme redeco. And I think a Lugnut Supreme would sell. That's the crazy part. Like, I think Hasbro could easily do a Titan class Omega Supreme and then the next year do a Generation Selects Lugnut Supreme. And I think it would sell. I really think it would, because a lot of people love Transformers Animated and a lot of people love Lugnut. And we're going to see that next year when, according to the leak list, when Lugnut comes out at leader class. As long as they don't butcher it, I think it's going to sell really well. Of course, with the HasLab, you could get the ability to do the Starscream head, and you could throw in an Allspark. Stuff like that would be cool. Maybe like a little Seeker he could grab like he does in the show. Lots of options there. I just don't know if that's going to happen. It's pretty mixed. I don't know. I think I would rather see that as a Titan class than a HasLab slot. Given that we got RID-01 Omega Prime, I think there is an opportunity for us to get a HasLab Galaxy Force or Transformers Cybertron Optimus Prime. Similar to how they did it with Omega Prime, I think we could get a Transformers Cybertron Optimus Prime, which is the complete package. So it would be a really nice Optimus Prime. He comes with the trailer. He comes with the jetpack. He could have an opening chest to get the Matrix, just like the original toy. But I think you would also need to include a Lyle Claw mode and a Wing Saber. I think if you do this at one full package where you could have the option to get a Wing Saber with the Wing Saber combination, and you could also get his, I want to say Leo Breaker to come with him and form the arm, I think that would be a really solid package. So then you get everything in one go. I think you could also do an Energon Optimus Prime. It seems like the designers have been pretty scared to do Transformers Energon, but I think a HasLab Energon Optimus Prime would be pretty cool. I don't think it's needed because an Energon Optimus Prime would have to work with an eventual Energon Omega Supreme, so I think this is more a retail thing. But since we got one Optimus Prime, let's just throw more out there. And finally, I think we're getting a Primus. There's been a lot of rumor online that we're going to be getting a Primus, and I think that's going to be the one that we're going to get. I'm hoping he comes with like a chamber of all sparks, a Vector Sigma, maybe a little Primus head. I think he should come with a floating Unicron head. I just don't know how they're going to do it because Unicron was so expensive and didn't even meet the backer requirement initially. So I think we're going to get a Primus. It would tie in so well to Age of the Primes, complete Age of the Primes with Primus, the creator of the Primes. And honestly, I just think it's a matter of time. So I think maybe late June, early July, we will see a HasLab Primus. What do you guys think, and what do you guys want to see? Let me know below.